August is all about transitioning to the warm season crops for us here. It's bittersweet as I love the cool season veggies, but the kids are getting a little bit sick of snow peas and greens. In this video, I'm going to be planting out my August garden bed. It is part of my system that I use where I plant one bed per month, so I've always got something to harvest. Full disclaimer here, it is very rare that we get a frost. So if it's likely you still get one, hold off on any frost sensitive crops. Perhaps go back and check out our July planting video instead. I would just swap out the broccoli with either Swiss chard, kale, or even cabbage. A lot of our back garden is still out of action as I roll out the wicking beds due to the tree root situation. We've even been talking about pulling out some of the garden beds and moving the aquaponics into this location instead. I've put a new Birdie's garden bed in our front garden. I love these beds as they are so easy to put together and I don't need any help to do it. The hardest part is putting the trim on the outer edge. This is one of their smaller beds and the configuration I'm doing is a 0.9 meter wide by 1.3 meters long. These beds do last forever. We've had some of their original beds that a friend gave me over 10 years ago. I just gave them a freshen up with a bit of paint and they are still going strong. I have one more planned in this area where I am currently growing a straw bale garden. I'll wait for it to finish up and use the remaining bale as a base to fill the bed. To fill this bed, I put some old spent banana trees from a tree we had just harvested. I then topped it up with some soil from one of our back gardens we're emptying out. This bed will drop quite considerably as those tree trunks break down over time, but it should work well in the meantime to help the bed retain moisture. Here we've gone for a trellis on the southern side for our cucumbers. I was torn as to what side to put it on as this bed is quite protected from the fence on the east, so I could have easily put it on the eastern side and it wouldn't have affected the sunshine. The cucumbers I'm going with are just a Lebanese muncher. It's a good little cucumber that grows quite well for us here. I'm going to plant the seeds direct here, 2 plants in this space, around 30 centimeters apart, 4 seeds per hole. 1 for the mouse, 1 for the crow, 1 to rot and 1 to grow. If all 4 germinate, I will snip off 2 and let 2 grow in this position. If you don't like cucumbers, you could do some climbing beans in this position and you would fit probably half a dozen plants here. Now this time of year, I would normally plant a grid of about a dozen or more corn, but I decided I just really want to get a zucchini in before the cucumber fly come and the humidity sets in. I actually find zucchini really challenging to grow here over summer, so I'll be happy to get a nice crop before the humidity really steps it up. Cucumber fly are terrible for us here. They look very similar to the standard Queensland fruit fly, but they sting cucumbers, pumpkins, and zucchinis when the fruit are really tiny and then they just don't end up setting. My kids will be so disappointed I'm not planting corn, but I will get some in next month. If you don't like zucchini, you could easily go with a tomato or even an eggplant instead in this position if you've got the seedling ready to go. Zucchini do grow quite huge, so it will look bare for a little while. And they do have a tendency to wander across your bed, so you kind of need to direct it the direction you want to go. A lot of people will train them upward, but I found it far too windy here, and if I do that, they seem to snap. I'm going with a Coco Zell variety. It's a green striped one, and it's one of my favorite ones to grow. On the edges of my zucchini, I'm doing a mix of bush beans. I couldn't decide, so I'm doing 4 different varieties. I'm doing Pioneer, which is like a flat green pod, very prolific, really good at growing in our climate. I'm doing a Strike, which is more like the typical green bean you'll find in the supermarkets. I've also got a Cherokee Wax, which is a yellow variety, and a Royal Burgundy, which is a purple one. I find the Royal Burgundy not as prolific, but I do love growing them because they're easy to spot the beans. It's one of the reasons why I love growing beans that are different colors. Similar to the peas, I will do 2 per hole, but I will give them a bit more space apart, around about 20 centimeters. I prefer planting bush beans on the edge of garden beds as they tend to sprawl a little bit and I can easily just hang them over the edge so they don't impede on anything growing nearby. As I was a bit late getting my July seeds in the greenhouse going, and then we got that awful cold snap that just seems to slow everything down, a lot of my seedlings are a little bit too small to plant out just yet. So instead of spring onions, I'm going to pop in some rocket and pak choi in their place. The beauty of having these fast growing space fillers on hand is that once they're done with the space, I will be free to fill it with the spring onions when they are ready. So next to my zucchini, I'm going to do a row of Swiss chard with rocket in between. Next up, we're going with a row of beetroot. This variety is called cylindrica. These are great for making sliced beetroot preserves as they grow like a long tuber as opposed to the typical round ones. I find them really great to grow over summer. They're a little bit more resilient as they dig deeper for moisture. I know these are slightly out of date seeds, so I'm going to plant a lot, and I'm also going to plant some other varieties that I know are okay in the greenhouse. So if they don't grow, I'll have something to go in their place. It's not a big deal. I do have space fillers on standby, but I'm really keen for some decent beetroots this year. My cos lettuce were far too small to get out, but I did have these butter crunch ones left over from last month, so I'm going to plant a row of these next to my beetroot with some pak choi in between. The final row in this bed is carrots. I'm going with two fast growing varieties, Paris Market, which grows more like a little ball, and the Kuroda. These two I consider my carrot varieties for beginners, especially if you have struggled with growing carrots in the past. They are the fastest growing ones. Now remember to keep them moist. If at any point the seed dries out, they won't sprout. And with the warmer weather we've had lately, it is a good possibility that you'll get low germination if you're not babying them. These again are old seeds, so I'm overplanting. Hopefully they'll all come up. If not, we'll put some space fillers in their place. I have some potato seeds for Sebago and Desiree. I usually like to plant these in July, but they hadn't chitted yet. So that's when they start to get the little sprouts. And even now I've only got 3 per variety ready to go. I am just going to be planting these in grow bags, and when the others start, I will probably try a potato tower again. I haven't had success with a potato tower, but these 2 varieties are both indeterminate varieties, which means they require hilling as they grow. I'm starting with a 30 centimeter base of soil, and I've rolled the grow bags down a little bit. So once I get growing, I'm just going to layer up with straw and compost. Now this soil I've just grabbed out of one of the old garden beds, and it does definitely need compost, but we will be hilling up with compost. I've just added in some rock minerals and a bit of blood and bone. One thing we did notice with potato harvests in the past is that a bit of microgold mycorrhiza inoculation made for a far better harvest. So I'm making sure to add a little bit in each hole. So now over to the greenhouse for our seedling planting for the future. My flowers are looking good. I can probably start planting out some of those cosmos. I have some new seed raising pots that I'm trialing. Whilst I love my seed blocker, sometimes I just feel like it's a little bit too messy, and sometimes I really just don't feel like getting too messy. So that's when I just recycle some old punnets from things that I've bought over the years, but now they're starting to disintegrate. So I've invested in these mini winnies. They are actually root pruning pots. They have this little slit on the side and a bigger bottom to stop the seedlings from becoming root bound. It's kind of works similar to how the soil blocks work. I'll let you know how they go, but they do look very sturdy and they look like they're going to last me a long time. I got a large, which is great for tomatoes, cucumbers, melons, and zucchini. The medium, which is good for corn, Swiss chard, broccoli, capsicums, chilies, and beans. And the small for your basil, lettuce, celery, onions, and beetroot. With the weather going to be heating up soon, I need to have lots of lettuce on standby, as when it is hot, it will bolt quickly and become bitter. I also only grow loose leaf varieties of lettuce over summer, so I'm going with the red salad bowl and a green oak leaf. Next up is spring onions. We always want to have spring onions on hand that we can just plonk in wherever. With these, I do about 10 seeds per hole. Now for the spare beetroots. I will never do spare carrots, only ever beetroots when it comes to root veggies. I'm going to pop in some dark red Detroit here in case my old cylindrical ones don't germinate. I'm going to plant some watermelon in now. I'm only going to go with 2 plants as I have no idea where I'm going to put them just yet. They are actually really tricky to grow here with fruit fly, and they also tend to split if they get too much water all at once, which tends to happen when the rains start here. I have had success with growing them in wicking beds, so I think I'll find a spot in the new wicking bed that I'm about to set up. I also think my cucumber seeds I planted out in the front garden might be a little bit old, so I'm going to do some backup cucumbers here. I'm going with the variety called Straight 8, which is just your stock standard cucumber with the thicker skin, the one that your grandmother probably grew when you were a kid. My snow peas are also close to finishing on the arch in the front garden, so I'm going to plant the Suyo long cucumbers there for when they are finished. They are a great variety for our climate. They're prolific and they grow super long. Now, we planted our tomato seeds a few weeks back if you watched our July video, and they didn't all germinate, probably because I didn't listen to my own advice and check the weather forecast before planting out, and we had one of our coldest weeks of the year. So I'm going in with another variety of tomato, the pink Thai egg. It's my favorite one to grow in a pot as it handles that flood and the dry of living in a pot, so they won't split if they get too much water. They are a semi-determinate variety, so they don't grow super tall and they will ripen all at once, which I don't mind as I can just throw a net over the entire plant to prevent fruit fly. They are a really good mid-sized tomato, a little bit smaller than a Roma, and they ripen pink rather than red, hence the name. I'm prepping for a new biennial bed, so things that grow over 2 years. I want to get in some new eggplant, chilies, and capsicums. The eggplant, I'm just going with a standard Black Beauty and also a little Greek one that has a variegated looking fruit. For chilies, I'm replenishing our stash of jalapenos as our current ones are probably veering on 3 years. So once I get these going, I'll probably pull the old ones out. I'm also going to do a little Thai bird's eye and a standard cayenne. With capsicums, we're going with a Corno de Toro, which produces a long fruit. And we're also going to go with 4 YOLO Wonders, which are just the standard capsicums. That's it for our seed sowing in the greenhouse. I think I will go back at some point and plant some basil as well for space fillers. There is something to be said about the success you get from compost pumpkins, and I find that if you can grow them next to your compost bin, you'll have similar success. I've got this one inside a garden bed where the soil is terrible. We bought it from a landscaping place to fill it, and it's just turned into a hard gloop of clay, and no matter how much organic matter we've added to it or gypsum, it is just not improving. It's also one of the beds that gets tree roots inside it, so I'm not sure what's going to happen with this bed, but I'm going to plant some butternuts in here and on the edge and just see what happens. Anyway, that's us sorted for the month with our August planting. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it helpful and you get some time to get out and get your warm season crops in. I'll see you guys next time.